So in my last video, we looked at Watcher's decision to lock all of their content behind a paywall. And the general consensus around that was that it was a really bad decision. Fans were completely outraged. And as I said at the end of that video, they hadn't responded yet. They hadn't made any comments, but now, 2 days later, they finally have. And just before I get into this, I have to say, it's a really good response. Like, I'm so used to these YouTube responses or apologies, whatever you want to call them, being like really defensive and not quite understanding what people's issues are with the situation. But honestly, I feel like they kind of got it right with this one.
Last Friday, we announced that we're leaving YouTube and launching our new streaming platform. We messed up.
I love that that's the first thing they say. Not even 10 seconds in, it's just, we messed up. It's a very honest thing to say, but let's carry on.
A lot of you spoke out with extremely valid comments and concerns, and we want to take the time now to address those.
We've been reading the things you've been saying, and we're sorry for the way we handled this, as well as the way we communicated it. We understand where you're coming from, and we're making immediate changes.
I saw somebody say this in a reply to their tweet, but I don't know what it is. There just seems to be some sort of correlation between ex-BuzzFeed employees and sofas. This also really feels like I'm looking at 3 boys that have just been told off by their mom.
First, we want to affirm that you are the reason why we've been able to do anything at this company.
Very
you
true.
helped us every step of the way when we left BuzzFeed to start Watcher at the top of the pandemic in 2020.
You've supported us in so many ways by watching our content, attending our live shows, buying our merch, becoming members of our Patreon, and giving words of encouragement over the years.
Yeah, that was something that a lot of you mentioned in the comments on my last video, but I had no idea that they had a Patreon, which I wish I knew at the time, because that made it even more insane to try and lock all your content behind a paywall if people are already paying you like a subscription fee for this additional content.
We didn't properly express how much we appreciate all of you. And we did a really bad job of explaining the reasoning behind this transition.
Honestly, I don't think saying we did a bad job is even half of it. One of the biggest issues was the overall tone, where they were just making it really sad, really dramatic. It almost sort of felt like a charity advert. And they're talking about all their struggles, and then the penny drops and they're like, so by the way, can we have £6 a month for like the rest of time?
We also want to deeply apologize for our ignorance around the impact of the cost. We regret stating and implying that it's a price that anybody can afford, and we fully acknowledge that it is not.
Yeah, that was crazy to say.
We didn't take the proper consideration for how this cost would affect you, and hope you know that we are taking this as a serious learning experience. With that in mind, we're making some changes to ensure that there's a way for our community to continue watching our content for free.
That's what we like
If you want to watch our shows early and ad-free, you can catch them on the Watcher platform a month earlier. After that, you'll be able to watch our shows on YouTube for free.
I think that is honestly what they should have just done from the start. So they've said now, instead of putting everything behind a paywall, you're going to be able to pay this extra £6 fee. I don't know if they're changing the fees, they haven't mentioned that. But you can pay this extra fee to show your support to them, and then you get to watch the content a month earlier. And honestly, I think that's really good. I mean, they still get their little bit of extra funding from the people that want to support them in that way, but then the community that they have on YouTube doesn't get left behind.
For those that have already subscribed to the platform, we are so grateful for your support. But if this change has you rethinking your membership, we will issue a full refund. And all past episodes and series will remain available on YouTube.
They then say thank you and that they're grateful to anybody that's already subscribed to Watcher, but they also mention that if this has now made you rethink your decision, they will give you a full refund. But then after all the apologies, they then go into why they made that initial decision.
When we started Watcher in 2020, we wanted to create shows that we were proud of, that we had ownership over, and that would provide you the caliber of content that we felt you deserved. However, we were finding it harder and harder to stay relevant to advertisers and the constantly changing YouTube landscape. We faced some incredibly challenging decisions. We didn't want to compromise our content to ensure they met advertising requirements, and we definitely did not want to lay people off that have brought Watcher to life behind the scenes. And we didn't want to bring Watcher to a close, which would have happened if we stayed solely on YouTube.
So what they're saying is that they had a look at everything and they came to the realization that if they didn't make this decision, then they would have to effectively shut down Watcher. Which, I mean, I'm not behind the scenes, none of us are. We can't tell what the numbers are for them. We don't know how much money they're making, we don't know how much money they're spending, so we don't really know whether or not this is true. We just have to believe them. What I saw a lot of people say, and it was brought up in my comment section on the last video quite a bit, 99% of the people that watch their content content come for them too, and their banter and everything about them, not necessarily the high budget production videos. So of course, then when people are hearing that they're going to a different platform because they need to raise money to support these high budgets, they're going to look at it and go, well, hang on a minute, why are you doing that?
However, we realized that in figuring out the logistics of what this might take, we overlooked the way it would impact all of you. We hope you'll be patient with us through these mistakes, and we remain incredibly sorry that they were made in the first place.
We also want to directly address our Patreon community, who have played such a key role in supporting us from the very beginning. All current Patreon members will receive a free subscription code to the platform. If you already purchased a subscription, please contact us and we will issue you a full refund.
Yeah, again, there's not much to say on that. I think that's also a really good decision. They've looked at what happened, seen the mistakes they've made, and they've gone, you know what, right, hands up, let's fix these. We kind of forgot that all you lot were already giving us money on Patreon, so you know what, we're going to refund you any subscriptions that you just bought and give you them for free.
We look forward to continuing to make shows and introducing all the incredible things that we've got planned for the platform alongside YouTube. And in the meantime, we are forever grateful to all of the people who make up our community, and we hope that you consider joining us in this next chapter of our journey, whether that's on YouTube or on the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, so that's what they had to say, and honestly, like I said at the start, I think that's a really good response. It's kind of refreshing to see somebody own up to their mistakes and then try and actively fix them. And it seems like people agree, because we have comments like, damn, I'm really impressed. This is a great compromise and the accountability is immensely refreshing. This sort of transparency is what makes Watcher unique. This has to be one of the few times where creators have went back on the paywall, especially this quick. Huge respect for actually listening. This one's quite funny. Thank you for potentially the first real YouTube apology. But that's why I was so surprised, because a lot of the time you see these responses from people and they just miss the mark completely, but they seem to have hit the nail on the head with this one. And just speaking again on their Patreon, actually, this person has said, the funniest thing to me is that their Patreon already existed at nearly the same price and we already got content early through it. This whole thing could have been avoided if they just upped the Patreon price by $1, released ad-free content a month early rather than a day early, and advertised it more on their YouTube channel. Plus, Patreon has a comment section, so the community would be more engaged and still get to discuss new episodes as they come out. Which, yeah, in my last video, I had no idea that they actually had a Patreon, and it really surprised me when everybody was commenting about it. And a lot of people were saying that they rarely even push their Patreon, which, I mean, makes sense for why I had no idea it existed. There's some comments on their video and then some replies to the tweet where people are drawing comparisons to the Try Guys apology. Like this one that says, this truly is their version of what happened. And then this comment here that says, not the Try Guys couch. But as I said, the overall response is really positive. Overall, I think they've done very well to get that response out quickly, because I started to see loads of people saying, why have they not said anything? Why have they not said anything? And I think if we had to wait any longer, then the damage might have been irreparable. I think the changes that they've made are good changes, and I do think given time, people are going to move past this. But of course, there is still that thought that's lingering that kind of goes, okay, well, why didn't you initially think about your audience? Because surely when the plan to start locking your content behind a paywall and charge people money for it comes up, you're gonna have the idea that it might cost people something, especially when it's a monthly fee. But you know what? Forgive and forget. Now I want to hear from you guys, because what do you think about this response? Do you think that the changes they've made are going to save their backs, or do you think it's too little too late and the damage is already done? But yeah, other than that, see ya.